Hello and welcome. I hope you had a safe and happy New Year's. And yeah, this episode, I'm just showing you some of my favorite jackets.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So I'm currently beading a jacket, but it's not finished, so I can't make that episode. So I thought I would get out 10 of my favorite beaded jackets and show you them. But it ended up being 12 because I couldn't whittle it down to 10. So here goes. So I thought I'd do this one because my channel, the picture of it is this jacket here for years and years. Maybe 10 years. This was my favorite jacket. It's a Chanel tweed. So the actual tweed is a Chanel one, and it just means that it's specific type. And yeah, it's absolutely lovely. It's got so many different colors in there, olives and different greens and fluoro yellow and mauve and a pinky mauve in there as well. Absolutely gorgeous. So I used the Vogue 7975 pattern to make this jacket, and then I made the beaded trim myself. So yeah, it took forever, this jacket, because I made it maybe 15 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, ages. So it's not the best, and the pattern matching is a little off, but yeah, it's one of my really, really early jackets, but it is also one of my absolute favorites. And these colours just should not go, but I love them. I absolutely love them together. And yeah, I had so much fun doing the beaded trim for this one. So this is back when I used to just make a separate beaded trim. And then once the beaded trim was done, I would wrap it in bridal tulle and I would hand sew the trim onto the jacket. Yeah, I love that one. Okay, so what do we have next? Ooh, they're all so pretty. I love them. Oh, I think we go with the Banana Chanel next. Yeah, it's another Chanel tweed. And this one's in the colours of bananas, which is why I bought it from New York City. And it's just objectively hideous. But it's got the colours of bananas. So sometimes you'll buy bananas when they're green, but mostly bananas are, yellow and brown. And the lining silk that I used for the lining on this is that pale yellow of an actual banana, the inside of a banana. And then the beaded trim, I got a bit carried away with the beaded trim. It's not the most practical. I think I keep threatening to one day take the beaded trim off and do something smaller. But I just love this beaded trim. It's all different yellows and browns, and some of them are heavy glass beads. There's also some bugs in there, but then I beaded over the top of them so you can't really see the bugs anymore. And there's some tiny little skulls and there's some tennis balls, and I've got these little brown pigs in there as well. And the fluoro ones. I wasn't sure, like when I got them all out, there's actually a video of me making this beaded trim. And as I got them out, I was like, I don't know if these are all going to go. But they are all in the tweed, like that. I've picked out the colours from in the actual tweed. So yeah, they sort of go in a very clashing Aussie. You can catch a glimpse of the silk there. Yeah, so they do go in that they're all in the tweed, but I was just so ridiculously proud of this one when I finished it. It's just amazing. And the colours are grouped. They're sort of, instead of all being nicely mixed between the whole thing, there's little clusters of different colours. So yeah, love that one. Next we have, it's my wildflowers. So this is what the actual tweed looks like. It's gorgeous. It's a Chanel style tweed or a French style tweed. And it's a foil or a metallic tweed. So they're ridiculously difficult to work with, and they just sort of fray and fall apart as soon as you cut them. So it's quite stressful working with the metallic tweed. And so the actual tweed is silver, black, white, and these flags of ribbon. So it's also really difficult because the ribbons, they're quite chunky. So your machine sort of feels like it's going over this really bumpy fabric. It was such a challenge to work with, but I love the way it turned out. It's supposed to look like a field of wildflowers, and yeah, so I had so much fun making up the bead mix for this one as well, because I love aqua and green together. I think I mentioned that in the last episode when I was trying to find beads for the gold one. And yeah, that's what made me get this one out. I just love it so much. And the silk on the inside is a dark, sort of really grass green. So beautiful. I always can't quite decide which are my favorite beads in this one, because there's these aqua floral beads that are resin and they're very three-dimensional, but then there's these clear glass ones that sort of look like hard candy, and I use green fluoro green thread to stitch them on. So I don't know, it's just the whole combination of everything is absolutely adorable to me, and it just makes me smile. So that is why I included in my one of my faves. And this is, oh my gosh, this is such an old one. I remember wearing this to film school, and it's been a decade since I went to film school. So back in the olden days when I first started making jackets, I made just beaded trim. I didn't bead them all over, and to protect the beaded trim, I would put this tulle over the top of them and then hand stitch the tulle onto the beaded trim, then hand stitch the beaded trim onto the jacket, and it just protects them, because at the start I wasn't really used to wearing such expensively made jackets, and I was just really worried about it. And there's Italian Roberto Cavalli design. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this tweed is a Chanel tweed, and yeah, it's just gorgeous. Like from far away it looks quite boring. It sort of looks like black or grey or something, but up close you see it's actually yellow and this rainbow of other colours in there, as well as the black. And it's just so beautiful. The beading is quite heavy, but it reminds me of like a fur stole or something, because it's sort of thrown over the top of this beautiful jacket. Yeah, I just love it. It's so beautiful. And this is sort of how I tend to wear it, like a little off the shoulder rather than fully closed at the front, because the beading does get a little bit heavy if you wear it all day, but it's also incredibly beautiful. So yeah, I did think that I was going to take the beading off and make it again, but in a lighter version, but I haven't, because I like it the way it is. And this one is ridiculously over the top. I made this in 2022, and it's the tweed underneath. It does actually have a tweed underneath. It's red and pink and gold and beige, and I started beading it. There's a video about beading this one too, and I started beading it with this rose gold tiny beads, like seed beads, but slightly bigger than seed beads, and I didn't like it, so I carefully unpicked those beads, and then I was like, okay, we'll go the other extreme. We'll do red and pink beads, or red and magenta and hot pink. And I just did some of those beads, and then I did some more, and then I did some more, and then I did some more. See, this is what the tweed looks like. And yeah, I just love it so much. I mean, sometimes I look at it and I think, oh, it's a shame you can't really see the tweed, but there's this patch on the back. I'll show you, eventually I'll show you the back. And there is a patch where you can see it, and there are little patches all the way around where you can see that it's actual tweed. And I started making another jacket on just a cotton base, and like I pre-washed the cotton, then I made the jacket, and then I beaded it, and it's not the same. You really do need the tweed under there. It's just so luxurious making this tweed jacket, and you only catch these tiny glimpses of it. I love the back. It looks so deconstructed, and the little patch where you can actually see it. I love it. It's like moss on a tree. And you know, where there's, you know, a patch of sunlight that it's too much light for moss to grow properly. So there's sort of burnt out there. And I don't know, there's something really organic about the way this is beaded. I absolutely love it because I just kept going back to my beads and collecting more beads. So some areas are more red than others because I went to the red box for that one. And then, yeah, I love that one. It was just, it took forever to make, obviously, but such a, yeah, so rewarding. And this is another one of my, when I first started my channel, I was doing beaded trims, but beaded trims, once you finish making the beaded trim, then you have to hand stitch it onto the jacket. And it is so technically challenging to sew beaded trim onto an expensive fabric like a jacket. And yeah, it takes such a long time and such a high level of skill. It's really frustrating. And so in the end, I just decided to bead the jackets. And it's, for me, it's easier. So this is a velvet, and it's got the pattern of leaves and flowers woven into it, and it's just amazing. Velvet, as soon as you cut it, it sort of goes everywhere. So it was really challenging to make the jacket. And then the beaded trim, I just had all these flowers that I collected because they just look so beautiful, but I'd never used them. And I was like, right, that's it. I'm using up all the red flowers and all the black flowers on one jacket. If I had my time over, I probably would have used only half as many beads, and for those flower things are technically beads. And yeah, because I got a bit carried away. I love it, but I think I would wear it more if the trim was like dialed down a bit, so maybe half as extravagant as it is. But I don't know. Then I look at it sometimes and I'm like, no, that's gorgeous. I love it the way it is. So I don't know. And the next one, I made this in August, so only a few months ago. Gosh, it feels like forever. And this is a Berta super easy pattern, sewing pattern, Berta 6123, and it's a dolman sleeve jacket. And this is what the actual tweed looks like. It's sort of a white, ivory white colour with rainbow, sort of like a check pattern in there. So it's kind of a traditional tweed, but unusual colours. And then I over beaded it. I was in August, I was stuck on conference calls pretty much all month, so I had to do something that I could do just at my desk. So I did all this sequins and beading, and yeah, I can do beading pretty much quietly. And so I was on the calls, but I also, like in the same way some people knit while they're talking, I sort of bead. So yeah, I really love it. When I bought this tweed, I thought I would use all different coloured small beads on it, but I had this jar of white sequins and white small beads that I'd used on something else and it didn't work, so I just took them all off. And that's a great thing about beading. You can just use the same beads over and over again for like, you know, decades and decades on end. So yeah, I had this massive jar of beads and I only ended up using about half the jar. It's amazing. So yeah, there's still another sequin jacket to be made from the remains, but I just love this. The white sequins and the white tiny beads on the rainbow tweed. It's just the most beautiful mix. And yeah, it's like a disco ball in the natural light. It's just so three-dimensional and textural, and I absolutely love it. This jacket pattern, it was a little bit baggy for me. The thing about Berta, actually most of the big four patterns these days, they don't make size 6. They make size 10 is their smallest, or size 8. So it's a little baggy. The next time I made that pattern, I sort of scaled it down so it fits better, but yeah. And this is my one and only floral jacket. This year I am determined to make more floral jackets because I just love this one so much. But it took like an entire month to make, just because, I mean, it was the first one, but also because there is so much work in here. Technically, it is a beaded jacket because you stitch them on like they're a bead, like they're a giant bead or something. And yeah, Joanne's had this sale on, like it was 60% off, or actually there was one indoor plant that I got that was 70% off. And so I just pulled them all apart, pulled all the stems off and kept the flowers and the leaves. And yeah, and the big gerbera daisies, the center of those was really yucky. So I just made these bead clusters and then put them in the middle for the center of the flower. And I love the way that they turned out. And then there's peonies and glasshouse chrysanthemums, forsythia. There's there's tulips and there's lilies, and there's just like so many, at least a dozen different types of flowers, and these tiny little ones that I put on these long thin beads, on these bugle beads, so they're like little stems, and there's ivy in there as well as some plain green leaves. It was just so much fun to work, incredible amount of work, but also so much fun. Like before I made this, I'd never made anything like this, so I don't know, it's just so much fun to test your skills and do something intricate and just so technically demanding. And yeah, using all the long bugle beads to make the little flowers look like they're on stems, that was, yeah, I love that. And this is one of my favorite jackets. If you've seen my last style episode, which was kind of a few months ago now, I talk about what this jacket means to me. But basically it's a Chanel tweed, orange Chanel tweed, and it's got all these colors in it. This is another one that I bought from New York City, and it's just hilariously loud and horrible. And originally I beaded it in the colors of so it was like oranges, apricot, and yellow, and sort of mustard colors. Those were the colors of the bead mix originally. And I started beading it, and it looked nice enough, but it wasn't what I wanted. And I did not know what I wanted, but I knew that wasn't it. It wasn't it. Like, you know, when I don't know, I've never really fallen in love with anyone, but you know how people say that, you know, they go out with a bunch of different people and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with them, but they're not the one. And it's the same with this beading. I was like trying different things, and then the first bead mix didn't work. So then I laid out 3 different things on top of it. And I was like, actually, I think it's weird, but I'm going to go with the green. And yeah, as soon as I started beading it, I was like, this is it. This is it. This is the beading. This is what it was always meant to be. And yeah, I just love that jacket. I am so completely happy with the way that it turned out. And I'm so glad that when the first one wasn't really 100% working, that I carefully took it all off and I did the green beads. I just love it so much. And this is the Monet. It's so the bead mix for the orange Chanel, when I took that off and I ended up using the green beads, well, then I used the orange beads on this other jacket. And then the orange jacket is on the exact same tweed as this. And then I had this one left over, and I was like, okay, after the orange jacket, I made this pastel one, and it just got so many beads on it. So firstly, I did the pastel beads, like the bugle beads in yellow, aqua blue and yellow. No, yellow, aqua blue and pink. And yeah, it didn't feel like enough. So then I went along, and there's these tiny little squares that were created, and I put a little bead in every single square. So there's like, I don't know, there must be thousands of beads on this jacket. And it just makes me so happy. pretty much these are 12 jackets that when I think about them or I look at them, they just make me smile because the colours are just gorgeous. So the colour mix was inspired by Monet's water lily paintings, particularly the one in Museum of Modern Art in New York that's quite heavy in mauves, and the greens aren't true water lily greens. They're sort of more pastel. So yeah, that's what inspired that one. And this is the Ukraine jacket. So it was in the start of 2022, and that's why it's got so it's a beautiful Linton tweed from Linton Tweeds in the UK, and it's grey and it's got like all these different colours in it, and there's these tiny little bits of ribbon, and there's some bits of ribbon in there that are orange and white and yellow. So I was going to do sort of candy cane, that candy for Halloween, candy corn, sorry, that's what it is. But then, yeah, well, we're not really supposed to talk about political things here, but yeah, I ended up using most of the beads are grey, but I also put in these tiny beads that are blue and yellow, like the Ukraine flag, because I just had to. I'm a human rights activist. Like, I know that people come to YouTube to get away from the terrible things that are happening in the world, but as an artist, I have to do something, because it's just, otherwise you would just despair of the terrible, terrible things that occur in this world and that people do to each other. It's just, I don't know, it's too horrific. I mean, all the beauty in the world doesn't change that, but I don't know, maybe it counterbalances it or counteracts it. Anyway, last up we have the Edinburgh Chanel tweed. So the actual tweed that I made this jacket from is a Chanel tweed. It's just a specific type of European tweed that's really hard to find, and I love them dearly. So I had this tweed for ages, and it's just a mix of different colours. It's like they used over all the most expensive luxurious yarn that they had, and they wove it all into one. I used to call it the Luxe Junkyard, because it's just, they don't look like they should go together, but to me it just looks like Edinburgh, because I used to live there, and there's all these sandstone buildings, and because it's so cold and rainy there's a lot of the buildings have moss on them, so when it rains there's just this green glow on these sandstone buildings. And I don't know, I saw this tweet and I just loved it because I love Edinburgh so much. And then for the longest time I couldn't figure out how to bead it to do full justice to the tweed and bring out everything I love in the tweed. And then I don't know why I decided to do this, but one day I just got out my bead collection, cherry picked everything, like picked out all these gorgeous stone beads, and there's these glass beads that look like kiwi fruit, like they're brown on the outside and green on the inside with a little bit of white like a kiwi fruit. And yeah, I love the way that jacket turned out. It's so pretty. And in the episode, I show pictures of Edinburgh. And oh, yeah, this is the jacket I'm beading. Since you made it the whole way through this video, I thought I'd give you a little treat. This is the jacket I'm beading at the moment. So I am still working on the Egyptian gold one, but it's got sequin stacks on it. It's a particular type of beading that's really challenging to do. So I thought I'd just take a break from that one and do some straight beading, which is what this is. I love it. It's a Marc Jacobs tweed, which the gold jacket that was the last jacket I made was a Marc Jacobs tweed, and it made me think of this other Marc Jacobs tweed which I made in March 2023 that I hadn't beaded yet. And yeah, this was the olive and khaki beads, and as you can see I've only finished one corner. But yeah, you can sort of see what it's going to turn out like. I've done all the big beads, like the first layer of beads for the rest of it. But yeah, it's going to be gorgeous once it's done. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That is it for this video. Actually, I'm going to show us just a little clip of every single jacket that I've shown you earlier this video, because I love these jackets and they took me so long to make. Every time I get one of them out, either to film it or to wear it, I don't know, I'm so reluctant to put it away again, because once you wear a jacket, you have to sort of leave it and air it for a couple of days before you can put it, pack it away again. And yeah, I just sort of leave them there and look at them longingly. They're so pretty. And there's so much work in this beading, but I also am much better at beading now. So I look at all my mistakes and I'm like, I could fix that, I could fix that, I could fix that. And then I look at all the jackets I haven't even gotten to yet, and I'm like, or I could just bead or everything. And then, I don't know, at some point I will, because I only have about 200 tweeds, or maybe 250, something like that. So there is a finite amount of tweeds. So eventually I will get to the end of my bead collection, finally use that up, and I will have used up all my tweeds. And then I think I'll just go back and fix all the ones that I have. As I said, that's the great thing about beading. You can just take the beads off, redo the work using better technique, like once you've got better at beading. And then, yeah, so my collection will be ever improving. And because, you know, every decade or so on the jackets that you wear a lot, you have to replace the lining too. So I think, yeah, once I've used up all the tweeds I have, I mean, I'm always tempted to buy new tweeds, but I haven't bought a new tweed in a very long time, actually. I think the pandemic was basically when I stopped buying tweeds, because tweeds are expensive. But also I started my YouTube channel a couple of years ago, and you can't just make jackets. People are like, can you make something else? Can you make something else as well? So I started buying fashion fabrics and making dresses and shirts and things like that. So yeah, it's very expensive having to make things all the time. For a while it was fun buying fashion fabrics and looking at all the different fashion fabrics, but I think I've kind of reached my limit. I didn't buy anything at the end of year sales this year. I was just kind of over it. I mean, I don't know. The situation all around the globe just made me not want to buy anything anyway. But I love this Edinburgh jacket. It makes me want to go back to Edinburgh. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful new year and that all good things come your way. Happy sewing.